Hi there, my name is Sarah Petrosky and I am the author of The Magic of Making Friends. It's the first book in the Life Lessons with Mr. G. Reaper book series, and it's available on 1031publishinglane.com, so please take a minute and check that out. I'd really appreciate it. I've been thinking a lot about what I can tell someone who's venturing into publishing world if they're writing their own book. And the best advice I can give, I think number one is to know your characters before you start writing. Have an understanding of who they are, what they like, what they dislike. Are they introverted? Are they extroverted? Anything that kind of covers a person. Well, if you know who they are ahead of time, you'll know easily how they'll react to things, what typical dialogue they would have, and it will help you immensely in crafting your story. So, number one, before you start writing, know your characters. The other thing you should do before you start writing is plot out your outline. It's tempting to dive into something and just start writing because you have something in your heart, but you can have a really great chapter that will sit there for years if you don't really know where you're starting and where you're ending. Take it from someone who knows. So you need to plot out your outline and identify any gaps you have in getting your characters where you want them to end up. Because if you don't, you're going to end up with a lot of heartfelt halfway work. And that's just not good. The world needs to hear your story. So plot out your outline, know your characters, and then start to write. Once you've written your story, it's important to get feedback. So you obviously want to share your story with a few friends or pay a book reviewer to get their take. You want to share with your intended audience demographic as much as you can, and if you can get people from a diverse background, that's even better. You want to expose yourself to as many takes on this as you can get, and it's important to hear their feedback. Seriously consider, don't just listen to the feedback, do something with it. So hear what they're telling you and then consider the options. You're not going to make every change, but you should be making some change. And if you go through the process and you don't think anyone suggested anything of value, it's pretty likely that you're a little too close to the material. Nobody's going to write a perfect story right out of the bat, but be open to criticism. It can make you a better writer together, and it can make your book better. So make sure you're listening and take the feedback seriously. After you've written your book, you're going to have some decisions to make. The thing I get most frequently asked is about traditional publishing versus self-publish. And I get it. There is no one right answer. There are benefits and drawbacks to both. So what I'd advise is you go in knowing your needs. Do you need an illustrator? Do you need help with a review? Do you need help with marketing? Neither option when it comes to traditional versus self-publish is free. I think that's a big misconception that big traditional publishers will just pick you up and make your life grand and you don't have to think about it again. That's not the case. The work begins once the book is out. So a lot of traditional publishers, the larger ones, will require an agent relationship in order to be considered. So keep that in mind. It's not difficult to be connected to an agent, but it can be costly. So that's one thing to know. There are smaller publishers that you can submit to directly online, usually with a portion of a draft, not even your full set, and they can accept your idea or deny it, whatever. But that's an option for some, and some are great. It's a great opportunity. Some are just vanity publishers, so what you need to look out for is somebody who accepts your book and you're flattered, you're like, oh yes, I finally made it, and then they follow up asking for money to market, and that kind of thing, and a couple $1,000s here, a couple $1,000s there. Do you own the copyright information anymore? Do you still have creative ownership of your material? These are all things you really need to look at carefully in any contracts that you see, any commitments that you sign. Make sure that it's not just something to get your name attached to a publisher that isn't going anywhere. So if you want your book to be successful, you need to follow the detail stuff really closely. If you go the self-publishing route, make sure that you register with the United States Copyright Office, a part of the Library of Congress. It is important to do this step early because it may take some time to get approval. It is easy to find the application site online. It's pretty painless to submit, so don't put it off. After you get approval, you will receive instructions on how to submit your book to the Library of Congress for filing. Also pretty painless and really cool to say you have a book in the Library of Congress. So it's an important step. The next thing you should also do is purchase ISBN packages. They're available online. ISBN stands for International Standard Book Number, and they're pretty much the global standard for identifying titles worldwide. A lot of retailers will not stock your book if you do not have ISBNs. So make sure that you take a look at what you need to do for that. It is fairly inexpensive. One thing to note, though, is that you will need an ISBN for every version of your book. For example, if you have a hardcover, a softcover, and an ebook, that is 3 different ISBNs. Now, if you self-publish your book and you're printing, you can use an online print service. A lot of these online print shops offer marketing tools such as social media posts and like in-feed news ads on Facebook, those sorts of things, and automatic placement on certain sales sites. But they can be pretty costly up front. So if you don't need all of the services offered, shop around for a print service that provides only the service that you need or offers services that you can select a la carte. When we were researching options, we found that a couple online print services were very cost effective, but we were eventually dissuaded by the cost of shipping. So, and of course, there's the option of working with a local print shop, which allows you to support a local business. And if you're able to pick up the books on site and avoid shipping costs, you can save a significant amount of money. So anytime you're working with a printer, get samples. We received a couple proofs that were not to our liking, so it's important that you check the quality and see if it meets your expectations before you commit to printing a mass quantity of anything. And you'll likely have to pay a small fee for the proof, but it is worth it. So to recap, in short, you should know your characters before you start writing about them. Plot out your outline. Consider your options. Know your needs when you're thinking about a traditional publisher versus self-publishing. If you self-publish, make sure you get that copyright. Make sure you get the ISBN. And just be proud of what you've done and put yourself out there. So when you consider your needs and what's important to you, you'll be able to make the choices that are the right fit for you. Whether you self-publish or go with a traditional publisher, your work is not over. So don't think you're sending anything out into the abyss and it will magically grow exponentially. That's just not the case. You're going to have to put the work in, but you can do it and you have a story that is worth sharing. So put in that hustle, girls. You got this. Now, if you guys have more questions for me or the illustrator on the series, Christy, feel free to reach out to us at 1031publishinglean.com. We are happy to answer any questions that we can and support each other in this journey. So thanks for listening.